What if the life you're working so hard to build is actually keeping you stuck? Think about your daily routine for a moment. You wake up early, sometimes before sunrise. You get ready quickly, deal with traffic, and arrive at work, where your time is no longer fully yours. For the next several hours, your energy, your focus, and your effort are committed to something that demands consistency. And you do this 5 days a week, sometimes even more. Now imagine repeating this cycle for years, not weeks, not months, years. At first, it feels productive. You're earning, you're responsible, and you believe you're moving forward. But over time, something starts to feel off. Your income may increase slightly, but your freedom doesn't. Your responsibilities grow, your schedule becomes tighter, and your energy slowly starts to drain. Yet the routine remains exactly the same. Let that sink in for a moment, because what looks like progress on the surface can actually be repetition underneath. Here's something most people never stop to question. If hard work alone was enough, why do so many hardworking people still feel stuck? It's not because they lack discipline, and it's not because they're doing something wrong. It's because they're operating inside a structure that has limits built into it. You can be consistent, you can stay focused, you can give your best every single day, and still find yourself in the same position years later. Not because effort doesn't matter, but because effort alone is not designed to create real financial freedom. So the real question becomes this: are you actually moving forward? Or are you just moving inside a loop that feels like progress?
The paycheck feels like security. Every 2 weeks, money arrives in your account. For a brief moment, it creates relief, a sense that everything is under control. But that feeling doesn't last long, because almost immediately, that money begins to disappear. Rent and someone earning $50,000 a year. They work full-time, stay consistent, follow the system, and still find themselves struggling to save. Not because they're careless, but because their entire structure of expenses adjusts to their income. This is where the illusion begins. As income increases, lifestyle expands. A better salary leads to a better car, a slightly bigger apartment, more spending on comfort, convenience, and appearance. And slowly, without realizing it, your standard of living becomes your financial obligation. Think about that. You're not just earning money anymore. You're maintaining a lifestyle that requires that money. And once your expenses rise to match your income, saving becomes difficult, investing becomes delayed, and financial freedom feels further away than ever. So instead of building wealth, you're simply keeping up. That's why even with a higher salary, many people still feel stuck. Because the paycheck doesn't create freedom, it creates dependency. And if you lose that paycheck, everything around your life starts to feel unstable. And if this sounds familiar, take a moment and reflect on your own situation. Are you controlling your expenses, or are your expenses controlling you? If this is starting to make sense, if you see your own pattern in this, take a second, like, subscribe, and comment. Because understanding this illusion is the first step toward breaking it.
At the core of the 9-to-5 system is a simple exchange: time for money. It sounds fair at first. You show up, you do the work, you get paid. But when you look deeper, the cost becomes clear. Time is not something you can recover. Once it's spent, it's gone forever. Now imagine this: you work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for years, not just for income, but for survival. And in that process, a large portion of your life becomes structured around someone else's schedule. Your mornings, your energy, your attention, all aligned with the demands of a system that requires your presence. Now, here's the limitation most people don't notice. Your income is directly tied to the hours you can work. If you stop working, the income stops too. Let that sink in. This creates a ceiling. No matter how skilled you become, no matter how much effort you put in,
There is always a limit to how much you can earn within a fixed amount of time. And that's where the difference begins to show. Because while many people are trading hours for income, others are building systems that generate income beyond their time. They focus on leverage, assets that produce returns, skills that scale, systems that operate without constant presence. Think about that contrast. On one side, income depends on time. On the other, income is decoupled from time. And over the long run, that difference compounds. The first path keeps you busy. The second path builds freedom. This is why simply working harder doesn't always lead to financial independence, because the structure itself has limits. And until that structure changes, your results will stay within the boundaries of your time. So the real question becomes, are you building income that depends on your presence, or income that grows even when you're not working?
Debt often doesn't feel like a problem at first. In fact, it can feel like progress. A new car, a better phone, a more comfortable home. On the surface, it looks like improvement. But behind that improvement, there's usually a long-term obligation. Monthly payments, interest rates, commitments that stretch across years. And slowly, these commitments begin to shape financial behavior. Instead of asking, how much can I save? The question becomes, can I afford this installment? That shift is subtle, but powerful. Because now, your future income is already spoken for. A portion of what you earn next month and the month after is already allocated. This creates a cycle. Earn, spend, repay. Repeat. And within that cycle, very little room is left for accumulation. Now, consider how this affects decision-making. Opportunities that require upfront capital are often delayed. Investments are postponed. Risk-taking becomes harder. Not because people lack ambition, but because their cash flow is already constrained. Debt also creates pressure, a steady obligation that must be met regardless of circumstances. This pressure influences job choices, lifestyle decisions, and even long-term planning. Instead of flexibility, there is dependency. And over time, this dependency reinforces the cycle itself. Because when most of your income goes toward maintaining existing obligations, there is limited capacity to change your financial trajectory. This is why many individuals feel stuck, even when they are earning more than before. The increase in income is often matched by an increase in commitments, and as commitments grow, freedom shrinks. So the cycle continues, not because of a single decision, but because of a series of small, normalized financial choices that accumulate over time. Breaking the cycle doesn't start with earning more. It starts with awareness, understanding where your money goes, and how much of your future is already committed today. Because until that changes, the cycle remains in motion. Breaking the cycle starts with a shift in thinking, not a sudden change in income, but a gradual change in approach. Most people focus on earning more, but few focus on controlling what they already earn. The difference is critical, because financial progress is not only about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and how effectively you use it. The first step is awareness, understanding your inflows and outflows with clarity. Where is your money going each month? How much is fixed and how much is flexible? Without this clarity, it's difficult to make meaningful changes. The second step is prioritization, separating needs from wants and making intentional decisions about spending. This doesn't mean eliminating all comfort, but it does mean questioning whether each expense aligns with long-term goals. The third step is building assets. Assets are resources that generate value over time. They may not always provide immediate returns, but they create long-term momentum. This could include investments, skills, or systems that have the potential to scale. Unlike expenses, assets work in your favor, and as they grow, they begin to reduce dependency on active income alone. The fourth step is consistency. Small actions repeated over time create significant results. Saving a portion of income regularly, investing with discipline, avoiding unnecessary liabilities. These habits compound, not overnight, but steadily, and over time, they begin to shift your financial position. Breaking the loop is not about perfection, it's about direction, a gradual movement away from dependency toward control, away from reactive decisions toward intentional ones. Because once your decisions align with long-term goals, the structure of your finances begins to change. And that's when progress becomes visible, not just in numbers, but in the freedom to make choices without constant financial pressure.
The poverty loop is not always visible at first glance. It doesn't look like failure. It often looks like routine, a stable job, regular income, predictable expenses. But beneath that stability lies a pattern where income is consumed faster than it grows, where time is exchanged continuously for money, and where long-term progress is delayed by short-term obligations. Across the sections, you've seen the structure clearly. Paychecks create temporary relief, but expenses quickly absorb that income. Time becomes the primary currency, limiting how much can be earned within a fixed system. Debt adds another layer, locking future income into present commitments. And over time, these elements reinforce each other, creating a cycle that feels difficult to escape. But the most important realization is this: the loop is not permanent. It is a result of patterns, and patterns can change. Awareness is the starting point, clarity is the next step, and consistent action is what sustains progress. Small adjustments in spending, better control over financial decisions, a shift toward building assets instead of only covering expenses. These are not dramatic changes, but over time they create a different outcome. Because financial freedom is not achieved in a single moment. It is built gradually through repeated decisions that align with a long-term vision. And once those decisions begin to shift, the structure of your life begins to shift as well. If you've made it this far, you now understand something many people overlook for years. The system itself is not the trap. It's the lack of awareness within the system that keeps people stuck. Now the perspective is different. You can begin to observe your own habits, question your financial patterns, and make more intentional choices moving forward. This is not about fear, and it's not about limiting ambition. It's about direction. Because once you understand how the loop operates, you gain the ability to step outside of it. Progress may feel slow at first, but clarity changes everything. And clarity is where real transformation begins. If this message resonated with you, like, subscribe, and comment. And as you move forward, remember this: you don't escape the loop by earning more alone. You escape it by thinking differently about money, time, and control.